Hi, good evening. How are you doing tonight, Robert?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing tonight, Kiki?
I'm doing great, and it looks like we have a really good audience to get started. I'm
Oh,
just a
yeah.
little shy tonight, so I'm hiding behind my camera. But anyway, I have a really good show planned for us, and I have some things to show. I was just wondering, Robert, have you read the new document that came out?
Uh, about the denial, the prosecution wants to deny the change of venue. I started reading it last night and I actually did a video on it.
You did. What were your immediate thoughts about it? I'm pulling it up while you're talking because I have it right here.
It's just a desperate attempt by the prosecution to try to thwart a fair trial. And yes, down there in Boise, they did do a survey, and the survey came back that a lot of the people in Boise do believe Brian is guilty. But he's going to be guilty no matter where they have the trial at, whether it be in Latah, Ada County, or any of the other counties.
Yeah, and it sounds like they're actually citing, like they're calling out flaws in the survey. They give some pretty specific examples. I actually had to sit and read some of them because they seem like, substantive arguments to what we're talking about. I highlighted a couple things on here. Of course, we're not going to dissect the document. I'm sure
Yeah.
everyone interested has already done that or seen it before. But I thought this was kind of interesting, this footnote, when I was reading through the document. And let me take that down. I'm just going to read this part to you because when they were talking about the surveys and flaws in the surveys, this was one of the things they said. The True Scope Media report does not show the entire picture. The definitions section of the True Scope report is explained that the report does not take into account data from YouTube, private Facebook groups, podcasts, streaming services such as Netflix, HBO, Paramount, or Hulu. In fact, the report does not take into account that the data is not location specific. And given the obliquity of blogs, podcasts, documentaries, and other internet streaming medias, it is difficult to gauge how including the data may have changed the True Scope report. Additionally, as the court is aware, this type of media, video vloggers, YouTube, true crime podcasts, true crime documentaries, and TikTok videos, is often the most inflammatory and prejudicial because it lacks the professional standards and safeguards of traditional media outlets, such as newspapers and television news. And I do find that like a little bit odd that, like, to me, if we're talking about social media data and analytics, I mean, it's some of the easiest data to retrieve. I don't understand why it wasn't included in the report to begin with, like location specific. I mean, you know what you can see in your analytics, Robert, but
Yeah.
it's just weird. It's just weird that that wasn't included in the initial survey. There were a couple other things on here. Let me see. I had one other thing I wanted to bring up before we skip to our first. Well, I'll find it in a second. What I wanted to start with, we're going to kind of look into this document a little bit more, and we're going to kind of explore the idea of like how social media has influenced this case. And I have a couple examples, but I thought that since we're kind of touch base on the timeline tonight, because obviously if you clicked on this, you saw I had a Linda Lane thumbnail, and we haven't talked about Linda Lane in a while. I'm glad you're here for that, Robert. I actually have done a little digging on Linda Lane, just kind of like my own thoughts about it, and I want to share with you what I saw. So the first thing I want to do, though, before we do that, is just kind of to tying in this new document in YouTube and talking about the timeline. I got a video sent to me by Michael Adario, and if you don't know, I'm a huge fan of his channel. I'm a huge fan of his series, Blow Up Moscow 11, 13, 22. It's an excellent series. He has a playlist on his homepage, and I'll put a banner up. But what I want to do is start with his video, and it's wonderful. So we are going to play the whole thing, but I just encourage you to go to his channel and check out the video for yourself. And then once we hear some of his different timeline things, we'll talk about it. Robert, you remember who Michael Adario is?
No, I haven't heard of it.
Well, he's a professional photographer, and I'll just give the backstory, which is probably a good opportunity for me to tell the rest of the people out here. Michael Adario is a professional photographer and visual artist. And he's also a victims advocate. And he initially went out to Moscow, Idaho to do some aerial photography. He's a licensed drone operator, and he was doing some aerial photography, and he wanted to get some still shots of some of the more iconic pictures that we had seen.
Yeah.
And he made some discoveries while he was there. And so this series is based on some of the visuals that he took while he was there. And I think you're going to find this video really interesting. So here we go. Let's turn off my camera. Where's the damn thing? Here we go.
Blow up at Moscow, Idaho. November 13th, 2022. Part 5. Silent interference. After returning home, between 2:26 and 2:52 a.m., victims Kaylee and Maddie made 10 unsuccessful attempts to contact Kaylee's ex, who lived just steps away. They were only 3 minutes from the Moscow PD, and undercover officers were nearby citing students. Despite all 4 victims and the 2 surviving roommates having cell phones, no one called for help. Additionally, the surviving roommates waited approximately 8 hours to call 911, only doing so after first contacting friends. Why didn't they seek help sooner? Or were their calls for South America have been targeting affluent neighborhoods across the United States, employing sophisticated tactics to execute residential burglaries? These criminals often plant hidden cameras outside homes to monitor residents' movements, determining the optimal time to strike. To access the video feeds, they exploit vulnerabilities in homeowners' Wi-Fi networks. Using tools to crack weak passwords or infiltrate unsecured networks, they gain remote access to live feeds, allowing them to monitor their targets in real time. The burglars typically enter homes through second-story windows, knowing that many homeowners do not alarm upper floors and that valuables are often kept in master bedrooms located on the second floor. In a notable case, such as the quadruple murder/burglary at 1122 King Road, a ladder was found outside the house, providing easy access to the second story. The ladder remained in place until the house was demolished, with its origin and purpose never determined. While burglary tourists are typically unarmed and non-violent, often receiving low bail and fleeing the country before their court date, other groups using similar methods may pose a more serious threat.
Tonight, the 4 men inside this vehicle under arrest, accused of being a part of an international crime operation, traveling to the U.S. to commit burglaries, camouflaging cameras in plants, and using Wi-Fi signal jammers to target homes. Upon searching the car, finding, quote, a video surveillance device with a battery-pack charging system camouflaged in leaves to gain a view of residences and know when homeowners would leave. One of those suspects also apprehended just weeks ago following a high-speed pursuit. Police say during the chase, he discarded a Wi-Fi signal jammer capable of disrupting home security systems. Officials tonight saying those 4 men are Colombian nationals and traveled to the U.S. to engage.
Okay, so, I mean, it's all just food for thought. He has really good theories, and he tries to back them up with some solid receipts or examples. So I just wanted to show you his creative work, and please go check out his channel. That's his handle right there. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust my camera. And I've lost Robert, and it's in the chat. It says that he lost power. So Robert, I put the link in the chat again, or anyone else is welcome to come up. It's not really like anything formal tonight. So since Robert's not here, I'm just going to get started on my Linda Lane presentation, and let me take down this banner. So the question that I was trying to answer for this live stream, or what I was kind of, where's my banners? What I was kind of basing this segment on was a conversation that I've been having with several people offline, which is, will the Linda Lane footage be admissible in court because it was leaked? And I mean, I guess I never really thought that it would be inadmissible in court, but lots of people have been bringing that up to me. And so I guess I just thought I'd do a little research on it. And I'm going to share my screen with you. Hold on. I read through quite a few examples in Idaho when this happens, and there are only, most of the time, evidence will be admissible into court. It's an issue if something was meant to maliciously damage the other party, then there can be an issue for throwing the case out of court. Oh, Robert's back. Hold on. But in general, leaked evidence isn't just a reason to not use it. Hey, how's it going?
Well, for 1 minute I was talking, the next minute the lights went out and the power went. I'm like, what happened?
Are you having bad weather? Are you having bad
Well, my
weather?
mother-in-law said that there's a possibility that we have storms moving in, but I don't on the radar or on my phone.
Well, just make sure that you have your phone on in case there's a tornado warning. 'Cause we don't, because we want to take all precautions here, Robert. I have an interesting article about this. I was wondering, like, so you guys, the other issue that kind of another thing we've been talking about with Linda Lane is the timeline. And so initially, when, and especially because we've talked to Jeff H about this a whole lot, like the origins of Linda Lane and Kane, who originally had given the footage to the police. What I think is really interesting is when I was talking to Heather Fitzgerald about this the other day, she sent me some screenshots of one of the original Fox News articles. And Kane was concerned about different timestamps on that Linda Lane footage, which is really interesting. And so I thought I would just pull up some of those examples. And then I do have the screenshots too that that Heather sent me. And then I was wondering, well, who leaked this footage essentially? Because we've heard a couple different accounts. We heard Kane got tricked. We've also heard that it could have been like altruistic. Somebody thought there was something on there that needed to be seen by the general public that wasn't having attention paid to it. So I've heard both versions. I don't know which one is the correct, but thought we'd just dive into it a little bit tonight. And I have the footage of initially what it sounds like Kane wanted, which was 2:45 a.m. to 3:15 a.m. viewed. And I'm not saying that to say that PCA is completely wrong, but could there be, with all this confusion, is there another part to the story? You know, is it more than the 3 passes? I mean, there was a parked car at 2:45, all these things. And then I have an article from March 1st of last year about one of the families actually going to court over leaked evidence. I thought I'd bring it to the chat and see if you guys could explain this to me. In fact, why don't we start with, we'll start with Kane, and then we'll move on to the leaked footage article and news clip I have.
Okay.
So, yeah, that sounds good to you, Robert.
Yeah.
So the first, sorry. Pardon me, what were you going to say?
No, I said, yep.
All right. So I'm starting with the, I'm telling you, WKRM has like these automatic commercials that just come on. I don't know if you guys could hear that on your screen. All right, let's share this. Let's listen to this. This is just a little clip from Nancy Grace. Let's start here.
Where are we? What about the video?
Any piece of evidence, we're reviewing all those tips, we're checking to ensure that we have individuals who
This
look at
is
those
not the
tips,
one, Robert.
any
I'm
piece of
sorry.
evidence that they can link to this case, they're doing so.
We're going to go right to the KRM article because hold on a second here. I like have so many tabs open. Let me turn off my camera for a second so I don't feel like I have pressure. All right, let me pull up the right article and then figure out which one I'm going to share. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to look at the article in the Independent first. Okay. Let's try this one more time. All right, so here we go. Let's just read this one. Surveillance footage from a, let me make sure you guys can see that. Okay. Surveillance footage from a property near where the murders of 4 University of Idaho students took place was obtained by police and showed a white car traveling around the time of the incident, according to the owner. Kane Frontiche, I think that's how you say his last name, who lives just 0.3 miles from the murder scene in Moscow, Idaho, said detectives had reached out to him on the 14th of November, a day after the 4 students were brutally murdered in their beds. Since last week, police have been asked for the public's help in tracking down the occupant or occupants of a white Hyundai Elantra in connection with the case. The surveillance footage placed on top of his 6-unit rental building on Linda Lane, where a white car was speeding past until a side view of the car, however, was captured in the footage. It remains unclear if the car was the same the police have linked to the murders. The killings of Xander Konodal, 20, her boyfriend Ethan Chapin, 20, Madison Mogan, 21, Kaylee Gonzalez, 21, in the early morning hours of November 13th sent shockwaves across the small town of Moscow, where no murder had been recorded since 2015. More than a month after the unsolved crimes, no arrests have been made in the murder weapon recovered by police, leading to anger and anguish amongst the families. I downloaded it and gave them access to everything from 2 a.m. to noon on Sunday the 13th, Mr. Frontiche told Fox News. He said detectives told him they would run their special analysis tools on the footage to find clues and describe the car, which zoomed west on Taylor Street between 2:14 a.m. and 3:15 a.m. on the 13th of November. Robert.
Yeah.
So the landlord is telling the police that 2:14 a.m. to 3:15 a.m. is the time they should be focusing on. Do you think that's interesting? I do.
Yeah. That's
Does
very
anybody-
that's very interesting.
And
I mean,
have,
we're always getting the 4 a.m. timeline shoved down our throats.
isn't it interesting though? I mean, we never hear about that. Now, I will say, we know that in the PCA, it states the car circles several times, but it wasn't at 2:15. He hadn't even left his house yet. And I mean, I've definitely heard several people say that the timestamp is off. And again, I'm not pointing fingers or playing blame game, but I mean, that is something that it would be looked at by a defense. Like, have times, that's definitely going to be looked at by the defense. Here, let me keep reading, and then I'll pull up a couple other screenshots that give different times. Mr. Frontiche, this is rental building, and its camera sit on a hill facing Taylor Road on Main Street that connects 1122 King Road to Highway 95 on the route that the killer may have taken upon fleeing. The property owner said that he noticed a sedan traveling westward on 1122 King Road home at 1:45 a.m. and returned to the highway a few minutes later suspecting the involvement of a third-party driver who dropped the two victims off before the murder. So, let's see. So that explains the 145 stamp. Moscow police said in the press release on Thursday that investigators are sorting between 22,000 registered Hyundai Elantras from 2011 to 2013 that fit into the search criteria for the car scene at the 1122 King Road home the night of the killings. Police have recovered their footage from gas station, which showed a white sedan traveling along Highway 8 at 3:45 on November 13th. The employee at the gas station, who wanted to remain anonymous for safety reasons, said the sedan drove past real quick, turning off before the highway street. So, okay, Robert, I'm not trying to read into this at all, but if you're seeing the car speeding off towards the highway at 3:45, doesn't sound like someone going to the scene of a crime, right? It sounds like someone going away from
Right.
it.
If yes. I mean, because if you actually look at the body cam from the alcohol stop at between 2:54 and 3:14, that's where all the action around the house is. But yet we're supposed to cast that aside because of suspect vehicle 1 coming into the area at 3:29. If that's actually Brian's car, we don't know if that's Brian's car because there was 22,000 Hyundai Elantras registered to people there in the Moscow area.
The swirling thing. I have a couple other I just downloaded 2 other photos I wanted to show you guys. Oh, I sent them to the wrong email address. Hold on. These ones that I'm sending you are these ones that I'm pulling up. I always leave my camera on. Okay. These actually Heather Fitzgerald sent me this morning, and they were of some of Kane's original statements from that Fox News article. But I mean, who do you think, Robert, when you hear all this, who would have a motive to leak Linda Lane? Like, what would be the reason? What can you think of?
I'm still digging into that myself.
I mean, like,
Because
I always think of the worst. But
I mean,
I'm sorry.
if you look at the body cam from the alcohol stop, you can see four people in the background on the body cam, either fast walking away from the scene or running away from down the alley away from the house.
I know.
And it just all seems so coincidental to me. Now that, mind you, this is my own opinion. It just seems also coincidental that we have the probable cause affidavit and Dylan Mortensen stating she saw a man clad in black, and then gave basically a generic statement of anybody there in the town of Moscow, 5'10" or taller, athletically built, not muscular, bushy eyebrows. That basically covers like 3/4 of the population of Moscow.
I mean, especially that build, athletic, but not bulky. Like, that sounds like that sounds like a kid.
Yeah.
It does. You're right. That does kind of pretty much describe everyone around, at least that house. I just downloaded these 2 other pics, and then talk a little bit more about. Oh, did I download that other one? There we go. Let me upload these to StreamYard so we can take a look at them. Oh, yeah. Okay, Robert, I got your message. Last time I tried doing this, I had they only allow you to have 100 pictures, and apparently I have that many. I'm
Wow.
erasing too. Yeah, I don't know how I have 100 pictures on StreamYard. It's been a long podcast. All right, so I've got these pulled up. I'm going to show you the first one and then the second one. And again, these are from Heather. Let me take down Heather's comment. And stop my camera. Okay. So anyway, this says the homeowner of the property near the home where the 4 University of Idaho students were slaughtered last month told Fox News Digital he turned over surveillance video showing a white car drive by around the time of the murders. A Moscow, Idaho detective reached out to the landlord, Kane Frontish, November 14th and asked for surveillance footage recorded from a camera perched on top of his 6-unit rental building on Linda Lane, which is 0.3 miles from the murder scene. I downloaded it and gave them access to everything from 2 a.m. through noon on Sunday the 13th, Frontish said. Kelly Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xander Kernodle, Ethan Chapin were stabbed to death inside their 1122 King Road home November 13th at between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. And then the second part of this says, police have not identified a suspect, but are seeking the public's help in tracking down the occupants of a white Honda Elantra seen near the crime scene around the time of the murders. Frontish's rental building and its camera sit on top of a hill facing Taylor Ave. The main street connects to 1122 King Road and King Road to Highway 95, the route that the killer may have taken upon fleeing. And this last paragraph, the most important thing with the highlighted in red there, the car, which Frontish described as both white and light colored, traveled west on Taylor Road sometime between 2:45 a.m. and 3:15 a.m. He said only a side view of the car is visible in the footage. So remember, they said they collected it because it got the side view. So how does the owner of the footage get the timestamp mixed up of when the broadside of the car is showing? Just interesting. I don't know the answer. I'm just putting it out to you guys. Just a couple comments before I get into the leaked part of this. Old Granny Annie is traveling again, which he was such a cute channel. Says, DD driver, in my opinion, reported the Elantra and her 2 DD customers. EB, okay, we don't want to say people's names. We don't want to type them all the way out. We want to try to use initials. But EB driving bought the rugs for Brent and Brian, but what else did she say? But not at the time outsmarted EB. And that wasn't to slight your comment. I just didn't want to put people's names on the screen. Whoa, there's a lot of comments about this. Okay. Yeah, where is Jeff H? We're going to be playing Jeff's video because I have the footage starting at 2:45 already pulled up. And I listened to this like half-hour footage before I came on here. And I'm telling you, things like there's a scream on there that's just, I don't know, it's all confusing. Now I thought of a few things. I actually took the PCA out and I thought like, how could I even rework the timeline with some of these other things on Linda Lane? So I actually have some highlighted things on the PCA we can bring up too. Chris McGraw says, I remember noticing missing times on another channel, but I didn't know if he just wasn't showing it at the time. I don't know if you're talking about Linda Lane footage, but I think at this point we only have 1 minute not accounted for. And then obviously Sigma Chi has some addition. I think it was Sigma Chi had the additional footage. Was that right, Robert? Who had the additional footage at 6 a.m.? Sorry if I'm.
It might have been Sigma Chi, but I could have swore Jeff had it as well.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll check on his car. Make of car. So David Bird says, make of car, consistency of the car, making passes, and the year, model, and timeline. That was to Rebecca. Time-wise, you mean? All right. So let's. Oh, Texas Ranger, it's nice to see you. Wait, ain't no damn way there was 22,000. I totally agree with you. Let's just talk about the statistic right there. That is that's an average. I think this is what you're talking about, Texas Ranger. Just correct me if I'm wrong. That's an average statistic nationwide. So the question is, are Subarus as popular in Moscow, Idaho, as they are in, say, like, I don't know, Vermont? Are they? I don't.
See, when Chief Fry came out with the white Elantra, um, and he did say in an interview that they have to go through 20,000 plus white Elantras in the Moscow Pullman area.
Really?
Yeah, because there was about 20,000 to 22,000 white Elantras registered in the Moscow Pullman area at the time. So they had to go through all those white Elantras in that area via the registration.
Well, I never knew that they actually confirmed that there were that many Elantras. I was kind of on the same page as Texas Ranger, that statistic was off. And I think when somebody tried to rework the statistic, they came up with a number less than 500 that would have been in that area, which is a big number, but it's a reasonable number to have investigated all of those, I would think, really quickly.
Oh, check the back chat.
Okay. Oh, good. That's good news. Thank you for sending me that message. We have a surprise guest coming up, you guys. Okay, so I am not trying to point fingers at anyone with the segment I'm about to do. I just want to know, like, how did this footage from this leaked footage end up online? And so one of the ways that this footage could really damage the case is if somebody within the case leaked it. So I wonder who did it, and I don't know.
Do you think it could have been Olivia Gonzalez?
Oh, I would never name anybody's name. I do not know. Oh, Mark
Or the
B.
family of the victims?
Well, that's interesting you say that. Because when I was Googling it, I found the craziest soundbite I feel like I've never seen. I want to show it to you guys. If you've seen it and you can explain it to me, that would be great. I have a whole article attached to it, but it doesn't get specific. And my camera's like glitching out. Mark B, who I haven't seen in a while, says no possible way 20K in that area. Thank you. I appreciate you validating my whatever idea. But Mark B, I think we've actually talked about this before. And it's good to see you. You haven't been here in a while. Okay, Heather says the GT footage cleaned up by Andy Garrett. Andy Garrett gave the social media. Why? I don't want to talk about the Garrett report.
Social mapping a document to one fam. And what's the link between KF, those connected to AG, basically?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hopefully, we're gonna leave the Garrett discovery out of this, discussion, because it gets more complicated when we talk about that particular document. But it's, we don't want to validate your point. Thank you for bringing it up, Heather. And then old Granny Annie is traveling again says, yes, I forgot which legit channel did the figure. MPD exaggerated, shock. Not 22, 1,000. I know who it was. It was Get a Clue. I don't know why I'm pretending I don't know. It was definitely Get a Clue. But a few other channels touch based on it too. Okay, Fox reported that 90 white Elantras were registered to park on campus. That's an interesting number too, but that's a lot. That's a lot of white Elantras on that campus. Oh my gosh. I would actually love to see that news clip. If you possibly remember where you said it was Fox. All right, something to go off of. Let me show. So I looked up leaked footage because I was trying to figure out if any mainstream news sources had actually reported on the leaked footage. And I found one, which was WKRM, and I don't even know what to make of this. So let's just look at it, you guys, and you tell me what to think, okay? I'm not trying to not be a leader, but this is just interesting. And I know we're gonna have to listen to a commercial because that's the way this website works. So let's start the commercial. I won't turn on the sound yet.
Like I could afford a freaking Mercedes.
I know. Why are we getting the Mercedes ad?
Turning now to the Moscow murder case, new unsealed court documents are revealing even more disagreement among the attorneys involved, and that includes allegations of leaked information.
M2 Shannon Mowdy combed through that document today and breaks down what we have learned. Shannon?
And this memo summarizes a January 13th
Oh, why are we glitching out? That's not
meeting held in chambers where the judge gave a stern reminder of her gag order. The judge was concerned after seeing media reports about the Moscow murder case, including details that shouldn't be public under that order. In the memo, we've learned about accusations of an information leak against one of the top attorneys in the case. This 3-page memo was unsealed with the names of some witnesses and their attorneys redacted early this week. The closed-door meeting January 13th included those attorneys, the prosecutors, public defender, and Gonzalez family attorney Shannon Gray.
It is an ordinary meeting to deal with an extraordinary circumstance.
Seattle trial lawyer Mo Hammoudi provided some context about why this meeting was held and why we're now seeing the summary unsealed.
You want this case either tried to adjourn or resolved by way of a plea agreement once. Cases like this are not only expensive, but the victims' families will be damaged the longer it takes to get through this process.
Judge Megan Marshall called the meeting in response to what she was hearing and seeing in media reports of the case. Hammoudi says this was a stern reminder of the existing non-dissemination order and a warning for anyone who violated it.
There's real concern in this case about information being publicized before it is even introduced in a court of law.
The judge warned violators could be held in contempt and or reported to the Idaho State Bar. Hammoudi says punishments could range from attorneys being fined to having licenses suspended or even being disbarred. In the unsealed memo, Gonzalez family attorney Shannon Gray claimed information is getting leaked from the prosecutor's office. Prosecutor Bill Thompson denied the allegations. Hammoudi says possible leaks could damage the ability to find a jury or try the case fairly.
Because for it to come into court, it has to be reliable, it has to be relevant, it has to be admissible, it has to meet criteria under the rules. So now you have a piece of information out there.
Are you having internet problems?
I don't know what's oh, whoa. I think I just whoa, that's so weird. Why did it go away, you guys? That's so weird. You guys, the video just got taken down, I think. Let me try. I have the website right here. That's so weird. Well, good thing I recorded it. Because oh man, that stinks. I have the article right on my phone. All right, I don't know what happened.
Odd.
Yeah, so I don't know. That was my big thing I was going to show you guys. But I do have another part to this. So we have the Linda Lee footage, and then I have a couple other things. So this is a fairly long clip that I have. And again, I'm using this off of Jeff H's channel. So let me actually go ahead and put a banner up. But I'm starting this let me go back a little bit. We're going to start this at 2:45 because these are the times that Kane had said. And I wrote down some timestamps because like really odd things start happening around 2:47. I wrote down 2:52, 2:48, like everything up until 2:50 is just really strange. And then at 2:50, there's this incredibly loud scream. I don't know. I'm just showing you guys some things, you know? Okay, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to try and pull up this article from WKRM again so that we can finish watching that clip. So just bear with me. Oh, you got the Chihuahua. He's so cute. Wait, hold on. There goes my theory. Let's change the venue to be approved. Right. 322. Okay, I'll write that down. And I'm going to try pulling up that WKRM thing. 322. Go ahead and drop your timestamps in the live chat as well. And my big timestamp begins in about 45 seconds. Again, this is what Kane told us to look for, the person who handed the footage over to the police. All right, I'm coming back because, wait, hold on. Make sure to let Willie know to Wiz watches damn movies. I told him that twice. What? Oh, what is happening in the chat? Okay, so I'm gonna pause the Linda Lane footage for a second here. So now that I've got the article pulled back up, but I have a lot to say on what Chris. So I have a few different segments here, and one of them is talking about the demolition of the house, which isn't something we haven't gone into depth into in a while. But I have a couple things I want to show you about that. And Chris McGraw says there is an economical and social benefit to the university/business in Moscow to not have the trial there, creating distance from the event for them. I like that statement. And does that car to the left look white, gray, light yellow, or light green? About the color that pulled up supposedly as the suspect vehicle one. Just saying, need color value to add to it. But here's the thing is this is night vision. So if it appears white, I mean, I've seen backpacks with pink flowers on them that turn up white in night vision. It's so hard to tell. You know, you just know it's a light colored vehicle. I mean, you like this car off to the left right there, that could be red. Like right above where it says Wade Bird, that car could be red right now. It's hard to say. Those poles are pink and purple. I don't know if is it true? But I do have that. I'm going to stop the Linda Lane real quick, and we're going to pull up that interview with Shannon Gray that we were just listening to. I've got it pulled back up. Fortunately, we have to watch the damn rotation.
And Molly for the Northern Ladies giveaway.
We'll turn it down. Well, they're giving it away, Robert. So,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
AR says drop the link.
Okay. Let me stop everything I'm doing because we do not want to keep AR waiting. Open this up. Oh, no, that link didn't go. Robert, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm going to leave and
Huh? Hello? You don't get views stated as facts, Texas Ranger? Are you back now?
let me share my screen.
Hello, James.
The existing non-dissemination
will be damaged are not only expensive, but the victims' families will be damaged
Hey,
the
Kiki,
longer
drop the
it
link.
takes to get through this process.
Judge Megan Marshall called the meeting in response to what she was hearing and seeing in media reports of the case. Hamoudi says this was a stern reminder of the existing non-dissemination order and a warning for anyone who violated it.
There's real concern in this case about
Okay, apparently Kiki is having internet problems.
before it is even introduced in a court of law.
The judge warned violators could be held in contempt and or reported to the Idaho State Bar. Hamoudi says punishments could range from attorneys being fined to having licenses suspended or even being disbarred. In the unsealed memo, Gonzalez family attorney Shannon Gray claimed information is getting leaked from the prosecutor's office. Prosecutor Bill Thompson denied the allegations. Hamoudi says possible leaks could damage the ability to find a jury or try the case fairly.
Because for it to come into court, it has to be reliable, it has to be relevant, it has to be admissible, it has to meet criteria under the rules. So now you have a piece of information out there that may or may not come into evidence.
So what can we gather from the release of
Drop
this
the
document?
link.
Oh, it didn't go through?
No.
I'm sorry, AR. I'm not trying to be rude. I dropped it twice. I thought it went through. Heather just sent me a picture of those polls on Linda Lane. And when we get back to Linda Lane, I'm going to show them to you. You guys, they are pink and purple. And it just shows something pink is coming up white in that footage. It's just interesting the way night vision interprets colors. Did that link go through, AR? There we go.
Can I see it in chat?
All right, let's keep going with this.
Hamoudi says it shows the judge and attorneys are committed to protecting this highly publicized case, pointing out Thompson and Brian Kohberger's public defender, Ann Taylor, signed off on unsealing it.
Speaks volumes because they're interested in making sure that the integrity of these proceedings are protected. It's clear.
CREM 2 is one of around 24 news organizations opposing the gag order in this case. The Idaho Supreme Court has been asked to review the decision. Shannon Mowdy, CREM 2 News.
Tuesdays with a capital 2 at Northern Quest.
Why do we even have the gag order, Kiki?
That's a great question, Robert. I mean, I guess it's to protect the integrity of the prosecutor's case, but oh, hey, AR. Hey, AR.
Hey there, brother.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Loud
Yep.
and clear.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm here to join you guys. Let's have some fun.
Good. Glad to have you here. I
Oh, I
think.
love the new picture, AR.
Oh, that's so cute.
My baby girl. That's Aspen.
Oh, I like her name. That's pretty. I'm pulling up. Heather just sent me another picture. Hope I have room in StreamYard to upload it here, or I might have to erase something. But she wanted to. Oh, I got another private chat. Okay. I wanted to show you guys a picture of those polls on Linda Lane that we were just looking at, just to show you what Heather's talking about. Oh, come on, I hope I have enough memory. See? Purple.
Mm-hmm.
And just so we have like the visual, you know, right here and now. That's what purple looks like in night vision.
Oh, wow.
You know, and it's just something to note. You know, it doesn't mean it's not a clue or it's not something solid to show as it's not, it's just the circumstantial evidence, you know, or I think it is. I don't know. Actually, videotape isn't circumstantial evidence, I don't think. Right, AR?
Videotape? Not if it shows some.
Yeah, that's true. So I don't know.
I mean, from what I understand, the Linda Lane footage won't even be used in the courts or at trial. So I don't think that it's, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it's going to be. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of, you heard about that article or that new soundbite I was just showing about leaked footage and having the non-dissemination order gone over again in court back over a year ago. Do you have any thoughts on, well, first, I'd like to know your thoughts on admissible evidence and inadmissible evidence. Do you think that if the origins of the leak are of a certain way, could Linda Lane be deemed inadmissible in court? Like if it came from the prosecution, like they were saying in that video?
Yeah, if they feel as though it's been leaked by an entity within the actual case that's been under the gag order, then obviously they can punish whoever that is and they can deem it inadmissible. You know, it's going to be real interesting to see which videos they're referring to, because it sounds like they have other cameras than the one that, you know, is on the screen now. So if they feel as though they've got better cameras or something that has not been out, that's what they're going to use, and they'll just wipe this one off the map and just kind of move on from it. So
yeah,
it's almost the same thing if you really think about it. If the sheath with, you know, the DNA that's found on the sheath, if they have another form of DNA that could match up to Brian Kohberger at the crime scene, that they've also been able to collect that matches up to Brian Kohberger, and this big debate's going out in regards to touch DNA being creditable or worthy, they'll just wipe that sheath out, throw it off to the side, and use the other DNA. So we'll see. We'll see what other videos that they have. We'll definitely see. Hopefully that's somewhat answered.
Yeah, like I was telling Kiki, you know, behind the scenes, I talked to a friend of mine today, and he's invested in this case too. But you know, he asked me, you know, point blank, if I've seen the evidence, and I'm like, no, because the prosecutor is sealing everything up, and then he looks at me on the video chat, And he says, here's what I want you to do. I'm like, okay. He said, it's okay if you think Brian's innocent, but he said, you also have to look at the evidence. And I'm like, okay, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it though. And he said, well, just keep an open mind, is what he said.
Good advice.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that because let's just say some of the evidence that's been spoken out there about, and we've got 10 different things that are deemed to be circumstantial evidence, meaning they're not rock solid by themselves. But in a totality, if we start bringing this piece over here to combine it with this piece to where we can start to see the story being told in a manner that makes sense. Let's say we have video of Brian Koberger leaving his apartment. Then we have video of him a mile away from the house in a certain time frame that's deemed, worthy of when they feel the crime happened. Then they see a car leaving that's deemed within that time frame. They could start adding those pieces up, and it becomes more solid evidence, where if by itself it's not. So I'm not one that's ever going to say I don't feel as though the prosecution has something, or doesn't have something, because we don't legitimately know, especially now with the debate on what we've seen, what's credible, what's not creditable, what's been stated in the PCA that's now further into the investigation been deemed to be seen a different way, or what have they found since that PCA? We don't know. So it's a very hard thing to piece it all together, and I like how you guys keep an open mind. You're willing to deep dive into things, and it's okay for some of us to feel as though he's innocent. Some of us feel he's not innocent. I guess just where I struggle is when people begin to push narratives as if they're completely real, when there's no substantial evidence to them being real either way, whether it be guilty or whether it be innocent. We can't push that narrative until we fully know a picture. And right now, we just don't know that. We all want to know that. We really do. And we just have to be careful. And, and that's what I wanted to say, Kiki. Like, I don't know if this Linda Lane footage is something that's going to be utilized. I know a lot of people are dissecting it and really looking at it because they feel as though it shows Brian Koberger's car pull in, back up the way that it's stated in the PCA.
Mm-hmm.
But this might not be the version of video they're going to use. And we see that when we hear them arguing in the courts, and Taylor specifically looking for certain videos, and none of those are videos in and around the house or of Linda Lane. She's looking on a broader scale to find an entrance and an exit from the area. And in my mind, I've really been kind of going over that. Like, she's trying to find reasonable doubt that he entered or exited the area, where the prosecution may feel as though they've got that damning evidence of him right there in the area. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. I think we're going to start seeing that right away in September, when all the evidence is deemed to have been turned over by the prosecution. That's when we're going to really start to figure things out by the motions, by the defense, what they're going to literally be attacking and what they're going to fight to get suppressed. And that's going to be the battle that we're going to see prior to this trial, is what can we get thrown out? What can we discredit? And then what are we not going to get thrown out that could be damning to Brian Koberger? So it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be eye-opening. I'm kind of excited. I kind of laugh because I've been doing a lot of medical stuff, so I'm really tired. But then I'm searching for new Brian Koberger videos and who's talking about what. And my wife's like, dude, you need to take a nap or go to sleep. And I'm like, Brian Koberger. So I'm right there with you guys. I'm enticed by it too, but we'll see.
You're muted.
There's a few really thought-provoking comments while AR was talking, and I think Texas Ranger is referring to AT, or at least the defense, and it's her job to try to disassemble the evidence to get it thrown out before trial. Just thinking about who would have motive. When I go up to this comment, so there was a series of comments by Tarot that I thought were interesting. So I'm just going to read this one. It says, in the neighbor, wait, was there a first part to this? Let me just, okay. And the neighbor leaked the audio. One would think BK and BLK are there somewhere. Can hear K whistle and say Murphy. Anyway, for such a short sound clip, there is a lot of info and a lot of info. And then he goes on to ask, you know, was it faked audio, and just had some questions about it. What I will say is when I initially tried to search the origins of Linda Lane, you start coming up with a few people who have come out with their initial contact with the leaker. So it was apparently like a third party. And the party that I've read, I mean, I've read the transcripts. I'm not going to bring up the creator's name because she was brave enough to show what happened in the background. And essentially this person said they were fearful of the police. They said they were fearful of the families. And this is not me. Again, this is what this leaker said. And they decided they wanted to leak it to this small channel. It was very odd, but apparently they had given it to a whole group of people. And by the time this channel had responded, other people had already released the footage, and she lost access to her, whatever Google Drive access that she had to it. What was interesting about that is she compared notes with another person who was also leaked the Linda Lane footage. They had a totally different conversation with the leaker, totally different theme, totally different everything. What I'm getting at is the one conversation that I did read had all sorts of timestamps, which was the reason why they were leaking it. And they concluded things like they heard Xana singing John Denver. I mean, this is literally the original leaker for the Linda Lane, saying for us to listen for Xana singing karaoke, singing John Denver. So I know, like, I don't know what the motives for leaking it would be, like, what other than it was altruistic or somebody wanted to make money off of it. I don't know. You know, it's weird.
Well, I mean, you got to really consider, like, even me being through the system, the number one thing that comes down to these types of cases is how can somebody benefit or profit off of something that they have in their hands? If they're able to get something that could be tied to the case, maybe it's deemed evidence, maybe it's not. It might just even be a picture of Brian Koberger's sisters out in public or something of that nature. It's all deemed a method to make a financial gain. And it's sad that those types of things happen. But in a case of this magnitude, I mean, we got to really understand that this caught the national attention of many. It caught the national attention of people like Nancy Grace and Banfield that even spread the word even more. So it really just exploded out there. So now the people that have this information in their hand can make some money off of it. Is that right? Is that fair? No, but that's the way these things leak. And if you really think about any big case out there, there's always leaks, whether somebody talks or somebody releases a piece of evidence. You know, way back at the very beginning of this, one of the bigger content creators spoke upon the sheath based upon an FBI, you know, conversation with a family member. Now, it wasn't the correct information. The sheath wasn't found where she, you know, stated that it was found, but that was a leaked piece of information way back when, and that was a profitable piece of information. There was money made. So, you know, I had people sending me this Linda Lane footage very early, and I'm sure you guys did too. I was just a new up and coming, you know, content creator. So I didn't dive into it. I didn't utilize Linda Lane. I didn't talk about it. I didn't dissect it on my channel. I never have. I've left that up to to others that are really in depth and really think that it's a critical part of this case, and I've just avoided it. So all I can say is we'll see when it comes to the battle over evidence prior to this trial, because we're going to see what's going to be suppressed. And I would have to think if this was going to be a piece of evidence utilized in the trial, it's probably going to be gone after to be suppressed, because it's out, it's about, and who knows if it's fake, if it's real, what's going on with it. They're going to attack this, and they're going to try to get it suppressed. So both sides, prosecution and defense.
You're muted.
Sorry. Not the Crazy Jen says, which John Denver song? And I can't remember. I did a whole thing on Linda Lane where I read the transcript, and I can't remember which song. If you guys name a couple of them, I'll probably remember it. But it's not Country Road, because that's the only song that's coming into my head. I think that's John Denver.
So let me ask you guys your guys' opinion, because you guys have dissected this Linda Lane far more than I've ever paid attention to it. Like I've literally pumped the brake and just ignored it just for my own mental sake, because so many are finding so many different things, just like you're talking about. You can hear voices, you can hear John Denver being sung. In the two of your guys' opinion, I'm just asking you guys, I know the chat can comment back to you. I don't have the chat in front of me, but what camera would have picked this up, considering the Linda Lane camera didn't have the technology or the microphone to be able to pick up this singing or these noises? Where did the singing and the calling out for Kate, what camera and what footage has that? What caught it?
Well, that's an excellent question. Thank you for asking, AR. So the John Denver karaoke song was allegedly coming from inside the building. And we have, unlike you, spent ridiculous amounts of time looking at Linda Lane. Excuse me. We spent ridiculous amounts of time looking at Linda Lane. And you can, at this point, I feel, and I don't know if it's true, but I feel like I can tell if a noise came from within the building versus without. I want you guys to hear something, just since you're bringing that up. And I find this comment particularly interesting by Mark B, because that's the minute that we're missing. And that happens to be what the person who initially possessed this footage, that's smack dab in the middle where he told us to listen to, between 2:45 and 3:15, not 4:05, nothing. And I'm not saying this to say the PC is wrong. I'm just trying to look at the entire case in its totality, because this is part of the evidence, and these are what the report said. It didn't change until we saw the PCA. Anyway, so I'm going to bring up Linda Lane, and I want you guys to hear this scream. And I have to give a trigger warning before I even play it, because it is kind of chilling to me. Hold on, this one happens at, the scream happens at 2:50. So AR, this is an example of something that happened outside of the building versus a noise that you can hear inside of the building. Start it here, and we'll just have to patiently wait for it. It'll be like 10 seconds. Let me turn the volume all the way up. We'll get back to that. You hear that? Do you hear that, AR?
Yeah, I mean, I hear it.
So you can tell the difference between a noise inside the house and then a scream that's obviously coming from the direction of the King Road home, or like from the fishbowl area. They say the noise is amplified. It's coming
But
up.
still, isn't this camera 100 feet away from the house?
Mm-hmm. It sounds about 100 feet away to me.
So let me ask, because I've been to the area and I've been on those streets, let me ask, are we in this audio that you're listening to, when you say 100 feet away from the house? First of all, one of the cameras is the 1112 King Road, which the PCA states caught the audio of the thump, the dog bark, and whatever happened there. That was like 50 feet away on one side of the house. When you're saying this is coming from the camera that's 100 feet away, which camera are you saying is 100 feet away and coming inside the house and outside? I'm just trying to make what you got. I'm not trying to discredit what you're saying. I'm not trying to argue. I'm just trying to figure it out.
No, I got you. I'm pulling up a picture right now, so you can have a better idea of what I'm saying. All right. So if you take a peek at this, you can see, well, this isn't the greatest picture. How do I show my cursor? Well, you can't see it, but I'll describe it to you. So you see where the two lines come together at the point of the triangle, right there to the left of the yellow and gray building, the building with the yellow fronts.
Yeah.
Okay, so the top left picture, okay? To the left of that is the King Road home. Right? Am I right? Hold on. Let me look again at the map. Hold on, Heather. Sorry. The 12 gauge made me this map. Hold on. Mark B says the 1330 Linda Lane cam is 300 feet from the 1122 King Road home.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, I didn't think there was anything literally 100 feet away. I was thinking you had the 50 feet away on one side, and then you had hundreds of feet away on the other, with buildings in between where that camera would have been.
So how would we be able to hear screams at 300 feet away?
Through buildings.
Yeah.
Like, it literally would have to come. When I was in the area and walked it, I get what people are saying, that it's a bowl. Like, I get that. I just don't agree that something in the home would be heard up the hill through the buildings with other stuff happening up there. Like, there's other stuff going on in those apartments. I mean, I can't discredit it. I can't say you're wrong. I just know when I was there, I don't see it. Like, I don't see it. I was there. I walked that entire road. I walked up the hill. I walked where he supposedly turned his car around. I walked back behind the buildings where he supposedly drove around the buildings. I walked behind the crime scene home. And I get that it's a bowl, but if something was happening in that house, I just don't see it going that far. Like, I just don't see it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to. Like I said, I haven't dissected this the way that I know Jeff H. has done great work on it. You guys have worked hard on it. Tommy Jude has worked really hard on it. Lovely Waters is. So all of you guys should be more knowledgeable of the noises and where it's stated they're coming from than I am. So I can't say anybody's wrong. I just know with my own 2 feet walking that area and visually seeing everything with the house still there. I don't know. I would have a lot of questions about noise, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I definitely had the same questions before. but it doesn't mean that. But the point I'm trying to make is it was presented as evidence. And why was it that the landlord was telling people that that was the important part of the video between 2:45 and 3:15? That's my point, because it's not cars driving around. We do see one car park, but we didn't see the same visuals in the broadside of the car. So what is it about that time that made the landlord say it was significant? That's what I'm wondering. I get what you're saying. Like, I'm not disputing that when you investigated the scene, you found it impossible for sound to travel, but I'm exploring what the landlord's talking about here.
No, but that I didn't say that it's impossible for it to travel. I just personally myself didn't see like it being that loud and being that heard. I'm not saying it's not. I think if the investigators did not do their due diligence and do sound tests in that area to know who could possibly hear what, I think that's a big mistake. Like, I think you would want to talk to neighbors and say, what did you hear? What time did you hear it? We did these sound tests that we found that this amount of noise could be heard at this distance. You're within that distance. What did you hear? You know, I mean, obviously you don't want to walk a mile away to a house and say, hey, you know, we have this test that we did that people within 500 feet should be able to hear this. You're a mile and a half away, so we want to know what you heard. I mean, that'd be a waste of time. But I mean, and I guess Linda Lane footage, when you say evidence, who's it been turned into as where's it documented as evidence? Like, how do we know this is evidence?
Well, I was just suggesting, okay, so I'll show you what it is. I could show the screenshot again, but essentially the police came to Kane and collected it, and he gave them the footage from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. I think they said the next day or something like that. But what he told the newspaper simultaneously when he did that was, we'll just bring up the quote right here. Let me take down that comment. And it says, Twiz is gone. Why did Twiz leave? I can't believe he didn't stay for the whole stream.
Why didn't you?
I just saw it in the chat. It says, the car which, and if I'm saying his name wrong, I'm sorry. Frontiche, described as both white and light color, traveled west on Taylor Road sometime between 2:45 a.m. and 3:15. He said only the side view of the car was visible in the footage, but we know the side view of the car as 4:05. It's just, I'm not sitting here saying that there's something, you know, nefarious or wrong or bad. I'm just saying these are anomalies. Like, what's up with all these anomalies? And I just want to acknowledge Bubbly's comment. Bubbly, I'm always love having you in the chat. She said, I'm going to say it again. John Denver, Country Roads, references to Blue Ridge Mountains and Shenandoah River. Blue Ridge Knives was the company. And Bubs has done a ton of research on it, and we appreciate your channel. Please go check her out. So it was Country Road was the song. That's interesting. And
but here, I mean, I guess my question to coming back, if this was turned in and utilized, and you said it's between 2:45 and what time that they deemed was turned in?
3:15.
Okay.
And there's another interesting detail to all of this. When we say that time frame, is Mark B had pointed out the one place where there is a minute missing, and I'm trying to go back up to it, is that 57 seconds at 3 a.m. to 3:01, which was the one time we just don't have footage from that 1 minute in the footage that we have. And again, I'm just stating anomalies. I have no idea what it means. I'm just reporting it to you guys, you know.
Do we know when that video was literally turned in to law enforcement? Do we kind of know a time frame?
Yes, this says, I think it was the 14th. Okay, it says, I downloaded and gave them access to everything from 2 a.m. to noon on Sunday the 13th. So he gave it the next day.
So November.
No, Sunday the 13th. Hold on, I have an article. Let me just grab an article here. I have a few of them up. All right, so this one. me present this one. How police found the white sedan. And I'll just try to get to, let me take that screenshot down. Hold on. All right. I'm just getting down to the cane part. Okay, so it says, oh no, this was, I'm sorry, you guys. I was actually working on a different, story when I pulled that one up. This one, this story that I was working on, I was having a conversation with Mikey about how they got to this white Elantra, but I'm not going to spoil it. Talk for a second if you don't mind. I'm going to pull up the article so we can just answer your question, AR. Just bear with me a second. All right, let me type it as me.
So how you feeling tonight, brother?
I feel pretty poked and prodded, to be honest with you. A lot of tests were done, so I got home safe today. I feel good so far. So been going through quite a bit of treatment, and I've already stated that I went through a surgery that kind of had some issues. Some of the medication has caused some issues. So we're still we're having fun, man. We're trying to figure out what's gonna help, what's not, and we're gonna see what's going on. We haven't even got to the point of being able to look at the kidney yet, so that's kind of put on hold right now. But so far we're battling, so we're just doing what we can in life, just like everybody else, with no complaints. And it's the community that's helping me get through it. And I'm sure you remember kind of when you were battling your stuff, and
Yes.
this community does a tremendous job of really trying to keep people positive and help them through some tough stuff, and they've done that for me and my wife, and so we're doing okay. We're doing okay.
How's Jen doing?
She's tired. She's doing okay. She's been doing about 22-hour days, trying to stay up with me through my night treatments, and then working her 10-hour shift on top of it. And so we've been having about 22-hour days, and she is a trooper. Let me tell you, I say I'm having a 22-hour day. I'm probably sleeping 20 hours of it. She's the one really holding the glue together and doing everything. That's amazing that I couldn't do it without her, and I'm so appreciative of her for that. And it's we're gonna find out in the next couple of days on how long I'm gonna be down. So we'll see, because it's definitely been stated there's some surgeries in the very near future. It's just gonna be, am I gonna do home health care? Am I gonna do in the hospital? Am I going to go into a treatment center after the fact, or what's going to happen? So the healing time that's been stated so far by the surgeons and the doctors that we've talked to is anywhere between 22 and 28 months. So they're saying probably 16 months of no walking, and then we'll see where we go from there. So hopefully we get a better diagnosis over the next week, that things are coming together with the medications. But it's kind of scary to think 22 to 28 healing process of months that I could, that I could not be normal. That's pretty scary. So.
Well, you have a path though, and you have a direction, and that's the best thing, is we know where you're going, at least. And it sounds like not only are you in the best hands possible at home, because you are lucky to have a wonderful wife and your little family, but it also sounds like you are in really good hands medically, and that everybody seems to be 100% on top of it. And with any health issue, you're taking it each day at a time. And that's just like an example for all of us with your attitude. And we're grateful that you're open enough and you're sharing this with us. So somebody out there needs to hear it right now. So thank you, AR, for sharing and being an open book.
I definitely think positivity in everything that we do in life is key. And I do recognize others are in some tough situations as well. I've seen bubbly statements in regards to her situation, and I always, in my heart, want the very best for her and to see if I can find a way of helping that. I mean, that's just kind of what I'm driven to do, is find ways to make everybody feel like together we can get up and over this, because I know it's really helping me. Um, I mean, it's a good medical staff here in Vegas. It is good, but I think we're going to relocate. I think we're going back east, and that's kind of where my hang up right now is, in where I want to go with the medical stuff. I feel more comfortable on the East Coast in the Boston or New York area. So we're definitely kind of deep diving to see what we want to do. Uplifting is hard, as you guys probably know. When you leave an area that you're kind of in entrenched in, to go somewhere else, especially for medical. But like I said, we'll kind of see where that goes. They've talked about moving me to Phoenix for a little while, and I've turned that down. I won't go to Phoenix. I don't like Phoenix. I'm not going back to Arizona. So now we're kind of in a standstill of what we're trying to do. But I'll definitely keep everybody posted. Just know that, I love this community. I love working with the creators like yourselves in this community. I'm appreciative of all the others that are a part of the community as well. It's a great community, great people, and we all battle every single day to overcome and make it to the next day in the best way we can. And I can't be more appreciative of the support that I've gotten, and the love from my wife and my dogs is amazing. Who would have ever thought? Who would have ever thought? So that's what drives me. That's what drives me. And Robert, I know you feel it too, coming from the ups and downs that you've been through in the years past. And Swamp, I know you went through a hardship too, and you're here, you're positive, and you're clicking away, and so we're gonna do what we can.
Yeah,
we're actually thinking about moving back to my wife's hometown in Missouri, because it's a higher elevation, and my doctors here think the higher elevation might be better on my health, because where I'm at in Kansas, everything is just like the plains is like flat, and there's more of an elevation and altitude in Missouri, especially the hometown where she comes from, which is Seneca, because the roads are all like hilly and everything else. And I always joke with my wife. I says, "You mean you want to move back to the roller coaster of streets?" And she said, "Well, if it'll help your health, honey, yes."
Yeah, sometimes we gotta listen.
I want to reflect the sentiments of Amnesia, and she's just saying, she or he basically is saying, and I want to just say this to you too, AR. If I had a choice to move to where the best medical treatment is, I would choose Boston. I mean, not that I know, but I feel like Boston has the best health facilities in the world. And so East Coast, I do agree. A lot of people are saying look into Philly. Some people said look into the place in Phoenix. So you'll have to go back and read all the positive comments afterwards, AR. There's so many great advice. Kitty Purr says, what happened to Linda Lane? Sorry,
Yeah.
we do this every once in a while. We hijack the conversation.
Heather said, at True Crime Cult, can I nickname your dog Toto because you're in Kansas?
That's cute. Let's nickname.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. I know you have a lot of work on Linda Lane, so let's hop back on that, because I'm actually learning some stuff from you guys, and it's good for me to hear it. So
yeah, we'll get back into Linda Lane. The other thing I had a lot to go in. I mean, we were already at 3 hours and 40 minutes. But I want to continue with Linda Lane, but I did have something else I wanted to talk to you guys about. So there were actually a couple things. So we can take this wherever you guys want, but let me just tell you the other things I had lined up, because we might want to switch from Linda Lane too. So earlier today, when I was getting my hair and makeup ready, I was listening to Jules' live stream. And one of the things that the only couple minutes that I listened to, she was talking about something that I've covered in depth, and I found it really interesting, which is the search warrants that went to the UPS trucks. And I have so much information on those. Like, I've done an entire video on it. So if you guys are interested in it, I do have that set up. The other thing I have set up was Heather Fitzgerald made this really interesting video, and it was called Maddie's Family versus Scott Green. And it really kind of struck me because it reminded me of the demolition of the house. And then it reminded me of an article that I looked up stating basically why the house might have been the biggest piece of evidence in another case, and other reasons why the house may have been taken down. So I'm just throwing those things out there. We have something on demolition. We also have something on the UPS search warrants if you guys want to see those. So, but we will continue with Linda Lane. If what we have for Linda Lane are timestamps left. So we're basically just studying footage on Linda Lane. So I don't know what you guys want to do. I have a feeling that it might not be AR's cup of tea. So I don't
Go ahead and run it. It's not about my cup of tea. Run your show. I'm right here with you. I'm supporting you.
All right. Well, why don't we do this? Unless anyone is opposed, let's go back to Linda Lane. Let's deal with the timestamps that we had. We just listened to the scream, and then people wanted us to look at 250, and they wanted us to look at 322. And then maybe we can just take a peek at where that 1 minute footage is missing. And then somebody up here said there was a 1 hour time difference from the office from the real estate office. I think that's what they were saying. And I've heard the same thing, but I've actually heard it was greater than 1 hour. So I don't know, but that would explain why all the activity that's stated in the PCA was actually happening an hour earlier on this footage, if it's a time zone issue. I don't know. Let's bring Linda Lane back up and take a look. I'm going to put Jeff's banner up too. Oh, I can't put Jeff's banner up. It'll block it. I'll replace that one. So if you have any other timestamps you want me to add to this, go ahead and drop them now, but we're just going to play. It would be interesting. I want to say the John Denver timestamp was 1:45. It'd be interesting to listen to that one again. Okay, we're going to go to, we're going to go a little bit up further to 259. And we're going to look where that 1 minute piece of footage is missing. Shoot, it's going to go right up to it. I know it is. Yeah, it is. We have to go to the next video. Let me go back. So how I find these on Jeff H's page is I go to the home page, and he has set these all into a playlist. They're really easy to access. Hold on. So I got to fast forward this to. Did I just click on the same video? Oh my gosh.
Yep, you did.
I know. I'm special. Here we go. So that's it. That's exactly what Mark's talking about. Look at this. See where this starts? Starts at 3:50. I mean, it's 3 minutes and 50 seconds. There is 57 seconds missing if you add the other seconds that were shaved off the last video. That is interesting, especially because so let's say this is an hour off. let's just say go by the hypothetical that what we just heard in the chat is right, that we haven't verified yet. And it's an hour off. That means that this critical time period is missing a minute. So this was the 4 a.m. hour. It's very interesting. I don't know. So we'll play this and just see what happens at, we'll go to the 404, 405 stamp, just on the chance that what he quoted is right as what we're looking. And then we'll go to 322, which was the other suggested timestamp in the chat. So just so you guys know what I'm doing. Spending a lot of time talking about Linda Lane and not watching Linda Lane. The timeline is not off. The car fits the established time. DoorDash, Xana, and Xana on TikTok. I agree. Let me sit here and just say I was so disturbed by the timeline lately, particularly reading these Linda Lane accounts when I was going back trying to find the leaked trying to figure out exactly who leaked this. And I did see the same thing when I tried to see how the timeline would fit in with what we know in the PCA. Some of those things can't be. I'm sorry. I'm going to bring up the PCA because this is a really good point, and I have this all marked up. Some of these things just can't be. Let me go up to here. Like, there's no way you could explain if the timeline was off because there's a few things here, like this one in particular, in the green. Let me see if you guys can see that. I really went through this with a fine-tooth comb. Like here, it says, a review of the records obtained from the forensic download of Kernodle's phone showed that this could have been Kernodle, as her cellular phone indicated she was likely awake when on TikTok at 4:12. And then the other one was down here, which was a combination of DM's statements to law enforcement, reviews of forensic download of records from BF and DM's phone, and the video of the suspect's and the video of a suspect video as described below the investigators to believe the homicide occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:25. I guess
that's kind of confusing. A suspect video of the suspect, or a video suspect of the video. That don't make no sense.
Yeah, well, I think what they're referencing is that when they did down here in yellow, it says, as part of the investigation and an extensive search commonly referred to in law enforcement as a video canvas was conducted in the area of the King Road residence. This video canvas was obtained footage early on November 13th, 2022, in an area of King Road residence surrounded by neighborhoods in an effort to locate the suspect or suspect's vehicle traveling from the King Road residence. This video canvas resulted in a collection of numerous surveillance videos in the area from both residential and business addresses. I have reviewed numerous videos that were collected and have conversations. This is not where it says it, but he says he was caught on video north of the house. Hold on. Okay, here we go.
But didn't Brett Payne state in that one of the court hearings to Ann Taylor when she asked him if Brian's car was spotted on video anywhere, and Brett Payne said no, his car wasn't spotted on video?
Yeah, that is weird because right here it says a review of the footage from multiple videos obtained from the King Road neighborhood showed multiple sightings of suspect vehicle 1 starting at 3:29 and ending at 4:12. 11:20 a.m. And this is kind of where I was hoping Twiz was going to be here because I wanted to ask him.
Brett Payne's comment was in regards to seeing the vehicle south of town when they were trying to figure out how he left on I-95 or whatever. It's not stating that through the night he didn't have video of the car. He was clearly stating that he didn't have video of the car leaving south. He didn't know what route he had taken, and he didn't feel as though it was caught on video.
Thank you for the clarification, brother.
You're welcome.
I mean, the only thing I could think, like, and this is again just putting hypotheticals out there, not throwing out the knowledge that we're having, but what else could have happened? And I did notice something that I really hadn't seen before. Let me go down to here. When we're talking about Dylan's account, this kind of took me back because I've been under this impression. I kind of repeated this theory I heard on another creator's channel because I heard that they were very close to the Gonzalez family and they spoke with them. So I listened to what they said, but now that I'm reading this, it doesn't make sense. This creator said that when the rustling happened with the dog, that Dylan was laying in bed and that yelling was Kaylee yelling down. But what it sounds like, the PCA clearly states that they're surmising that was Xana. And what's really interesting about the way it's laid out is the chain of events happens where she hears a dog, what sounds like somebody playing with dog, but it's clearly just dog noises. So she hears dog noises. Then she hears crying. She hears somebody say, "There's someone here." And that was Xana, according to the PCA. They blatantly say that. And then she hears crying. She opens the door. And then she hears a male voice say, "It's okay, I'm here to help you." So here's the key thing. If Xana was crying before somebody said there's someone here to help you, and it's after the DoorDash order, why was she crying? So to me, I'm wondering, did this start with Xana? Was she attacked first? And then when Dylan yelled out, did it, or whatever happened, when she said there's someone here, did the person come back because she was crying in pain and say, "I'm here to help"? I don't know if I explained that well, but I can break it down with the PCA. You guys have any immediate thoughts after I said that?
My opinion was always that Xana was caught off guard coming up the stairs with the DoorDash food, and the perpetrator was coming in through the back door, and the melee ensued right there, chasing her back towards the bedroom. I don't think she made it back to the bedroom, to be honest with you. That's why I've always said in the pictures, I see forensics doing a lot of work in the hallway that goes from the living room to Xana's room, and I feel the reason why is the attack actually happened outside of the room. That's the only way that I feel as though Dylan would hear her murmuring and, whining under the tone like she was whimpering and crying. And that's the only way someone's voice of "I'm here to help you" would be heard, because I highly doubt whoever's committing this crime is yelling, "I'm here to help you" at the top of their voice. They'd be saying it in a calm, collected, quieter voice, meaning you're closer to Dylan's room, meaning you're not in the actual bedroom. So, just my opinion.
And I agree with you, brother. But what I would like to know is, we have the 1112 King Road camera, basically the light bulb camera that heard those, the sound of a thud in Xana's room. Could that have been maybe Ethan getting slammed up against the wall? We don't know.
That would be my opinion. I think Ethan probably was trying to come out of the bedroom when he heard Xana. And that might have been Ethan saying, "I'm here to help you." And then he got overtaken, which would, in my opinion, if I got to take out a bigger guy than me, and unfortunately I've been in a few little melees in my lifetime, and most of them have been with people bigger than me, I have to try to drive them back and get underneath them. But the thing about it is, like, everybody's saying how much bigger Ethan is than Brian Koberger. I don't fully agree with that. I mean, Koberger's not the smallest of guys. I think that if you catch that bigger guy off guard, you drive him back with the knife into the wall, and there's your thud, and that would be your falling victim in the bedroom, which I don't think actually took his life immediately. I think he was devastated, and when they say that his throat was sliced, that would be the all end, of that fight. I believe they were close-knit fighting, and then the last take would be the knife to the throat, which would mean, in my opinion, I don't think Ethan passed right away. I think he tried to crawl towards the door to where he could try to get help in the living room or where Xana may be, and that's how he came to the end result of the back of the door, making it hard for someone to push it open to get in.
Do you guys mind if I just quickly go over this chain of events I was just talking about? It's only like a paragraph and a half, but I kind of highlighted it. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through what I just said, but it'll be faster because I'm reading this. So let me go back up to, we're going to start at 4 a.m. So I'll just read the whole paragraph. So DM and BF both made statements during interviews that indicated the occupants of the King Road residence were at the home by 2 a.m. and asleep or at least in their rooms by 4 a.m. This with the exception of Kernodle, who received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. Law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information. And I'll get back to the DoorDash in a second. DM stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the southeast side of the second floor. DM stated she was awoken at approximately 4 a.m. by what she stated sounded like Gonzalez with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which were located on the third floor. So I emphasized that because she said what sounded like Gonzalez playing with her dog. She doesn't say at that moment that she's actually hearing Kaylee's voice, because next she does mention voice, but she doesn't mention it here. She says playing with the dog. So for me, if she's hearing the dog, she's not hearing the dog in the struggle at the crime scene. The dog had no evidence on it. So she's hearing the dog barking and making noise. So it was either in the kennel or in the room, but the dog was making noise. And it's interesting because the dog is mentioned here, and then the dog is mentioned again at 4:17, like they were mentioning in that video. So that means this dog was barking for 20 minutes. That's what it sounds like to me. Because if the dog's barking here at 4 a.m., it sounds like it's playing. And then it's also barking on the video at 4:17. There's a huge amount of noise going on. So I'm getting out the dog noise in that she's not mentioning Kaylee. Let me just read on, and then I'll get to the part about Kaylee's voice. So Gonzalez playing with her dog in the upstairs room, which were located on the third floor. A short time later, DM said she heard who she thought was Gonzalez say something to the effect of "there's someone here." But the police added this to Dylan's statement. This is what's crazy, is they're contradicting Dylan in it. They're saying a review of records obtained from forensic download of Kernodle's phone. So this could also have been Kernodle so they're not contradicting her. They're giving another alternative to this. It could have been Kernodle, as her cellular phone activity indicated that she was likely awake and using TikTok at approximately 4:12. So I'm wondering this. If the police suggested that it was Kernodle and not Gonzalez, does that mean that Dylan described "there's someone here" as something less than a scream? Or, I mean, why did the police think someone on the second floor, not someone on the third floor? Because if it had been a violent scream, I mean, why did they suggest something other than what Dylan said? That's what's interesting about it, is like they, for some reason, put another alternative in there about who said it. Let me keep going. So DM stated she looked out of her bedroom, but did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. So DM stated she opened the door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Cronola's room. So the crying happened first, okay? DM then said she heard a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm trying to help you." So the part that I guess I never had in my head is Xana is crying. And then, so she's crying about something. There's already been an announcement, somebody's in the home, regardless if it was her or somebody else. Somebody's already screamed this. There's already a dog barking, and Xana's already crying. So then why does a male voice come and say, "I'm here to help"? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like he came back. And I'm sorry for saying these triggering things, but it sounds like he came back to finish the job.
Well, yeah, that's 100% my opinion. I think you're absolutely right. I think he did what he could initially. This is why I also feel like he knew. I keep saying he. It's whoever committed this crime, because I'm not fully, like I said, 100% convinced I know or think who committed this crime. So it could be more than one person as well. To me, more than one person makes far more sense than one person. But I feel like they would have left that initial attack area, which means that they wouldn't have attacked Ethan yet. They went upstairs, they got into the melee. On their way down, I don't know if Ethan would have already come out of the bedroom and was trying to help Xana, and that's where the attack took place on Ethan, driving him back into the room against the wall, where you hear the thud, the finishing of, I hate to say it, the throat gash that they say is probably the fatal blow. He fell, tried crawling to the door through time. I don't think he died right away. I've seen people stabbed in the neck live for quite a while. And I think that Xana perished in the hallway. I don't think she made it back in the bedroom. And that's why I also think that in the morning when 911 was actually called, the people that were in the home that found the bodies reacted immediately to seeing Xana's body in the hallway and ran back out of the house and were doing all they could to call 911. I'm not sure I fully believe any story that somebody was trying to break into the bedroom or anything of that nature. If they were, it's because, in my opinion, they stepped over Xana's body and they were trying to find out if Ethan was okay or not, and then realized the trouble that was happening. And that's when they retreated to call 911. And where all of this comes into disarray, I mean, we've all scratched our head thinking about Bethany and Dylan, and we picked them apart. We've tried to be supportive. We've looked at it every single angle that we possibly can to try to better understand it. And we're not going to know fully what Dylan's story is until we get to trial. And she's going to be under a lot of pressure. So I sure hope, she better just prepare herself, because she has to testify. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She'll be treated as a hostile witness if she tries not to. She can only make it worse for herself. So she's got to go in there and try to prepare herself to tell the story that she feels is the best story that she knows. And the defense is going to pick that apart. I mean, it's sad to see that if this young lady didn't legitimately do anything wrong, if this is true, that she was just overwhelmed and everything fell apart and the world collapsed for her, this is going to be traumatic. And trust me, courtrooms are no fun, especially if you're up there on that stand and you got to really get picked apart, because they make you look like a fool, feel like a fool. They make you feel like you were the one. And I hope she prepares herself. I really do, because it's going to be hell on wheels. And if she does it, if she fails on that stand, don't be surprised if charges come later down the road, because the community will scream for her to have, some sort of charges for not calling 911. So,
or like obstruction of justice.
There's going to be something. I mean, if you don't call for medical help, if you know somebody's badly injured and could possibly be losing their life, and you ignore the fact and don't call emergency services or 911, that's a felony. and it's punishable by prison time. I don't think they would give her prison time. I don't know what they would do with her, but I've seen people with the charge before that ignored calling for authorities after a shooting or something between gangs, and they were charged, and it's a felony. And I don't think she would have priors, but if she does, if she has drug charges or anything, else on her plate, she could probably see some time. Most likely probation, but she could get some time. But just to kind of even think about the way that the PCA is written, you could tell it's an inexperienced writer of that PCA. Like, this has got to be the most devastating crime that person's ever had to try to document into a court, document for an arrest. And I think they relied heavily on whispers in the ear from FBI or other agents that have written them before, and that's why it sounds choppy and unorganized and doesn't make sense. It's just not well written, and that's going to get picked apart at trial too. There's so many leftover doors here that could get picked apart that even if they do have some sort of substantial evidence, man, you'd lose one piece of that substantial evidence going through the suppression hearings, and you could really be in some trouble. And then we're talking about a cold case with no chance of any type of, conviction. So it's a catch-22, and it's a hard one to deal with, that's for sure. I think that's why it mesmerizes everybody, is because none of us have literally ran into any type of case that has so many oddities like this one does, that you're trying to piece this oddity with this oddity to try to figure out that oddity of why this didn't happen, why this did happen. And it's just, now you're kind of stuck in the middle going, well, you got some sensible circumstantial evidence that in most cases would make sense, and we would look at it and go, oh, they found DNA at the scene. But then we look at the type of DNA that they found at this scene, and that's all they found. And it's like, uh-oh, well, this doesn't add up. So the whole story with Dylan, is it going to change in the courtroom? I mean, is she going to be able to tell the story in a manner that lines up with what this affidavit says? If not, that's going to be a problem.
Or is it going to be different?
Yeah, I mean, what happens if her story changes? Then what are we all going to think or say at that point? If her story changes while on the stand, she's discredited every bit of what she's told the investigators prior to that. That's all out the window. It's discredited.
See, what I'd like to know is why, after the interviews with Moscow and the ISP and the FBI, why did her and Bethany lawyer up? Like right after the interviews.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too. It sounds like everybody lawyered up quick, including the fraternity members, because they knew this investigation was going to be intense. And I do see Texas Ranger ask the question in regards to blood on the foundation and stuff of that nature. I believe there is a massive amount of blood in this crime scene, and that's why they took floorboards, they took pieces of the wall out. I believe when we get to the actual evidence hearings and where some of this starts coming out, we're going to find out there's far more blood in this crime scene than what people have been led to believe. I know many people have talked about a cleaned up crime scene, that this was a very clean crime scene for this type of crime, and I just don't feel it's going to be that case, especially considering they were tearing the kitchen apart. There's evidence in there, and it's going to be blood evidence, it's going to be splatter evidence, it's going to be everywhere. I also believe they're going to have footprints that they haven't let out for us to know. I think there's you know, at the end of the day, I think they found the murder weapon. I think they found the weapon in the crime scene, and they just haven't stated that, or at least one of the weapons, if more than one was used. Maybe they just released the K-bar, and that's one they didn't find, but they have others, like a golf club or something else that was used in there. This is 4 people tragically, you know, lives taken. I don't think it's one blade. I don't think it's one knife, and they never searched for it. You know, if they felt like they had this big route that he drove that night, they put out the big map. When did we ever see any search teams looking for clothes or looking for a weapon? Or it didn't happen. I mean, it didn't happen. So
Twisted just made the comment. It's only clean outside of the bedrooms, according to Mabbitt.
you know, Mabbitt speaks, and did anybody really like believe what she was saying? Like,
No.
It felt as if she was speaking, trying to be careful to not cross the boundaries of what law enforcement was wanting her to state or release. So she was confused on what to say or not to say. And then, you know, the professionalism of that, where I kind of fall into an issue, is she literally she called the Gonzalez family home and spoke to a minor in regards to the wounds of Kaylee, and that's unprofessional, and it kind of shows where maybe she's not truly capable either of her position. So
Yeah, because I think it wasn't like Kaylee's like 17-year-old sister that Mabbitt had called and then told her the gory and graphic details of how her sister died, and then the sister gave the phone to Christy. Why would you tell a minor exactly how her sister died?
yeah, that's unfortunately that's what I understood happened. Now, whether that's truly what happened, I don't know. I hope it's not, but it sounds like that is what happened. And Kiki, I'm sorry if I overtook what you have to say. I definitely want you to chime in and speak up. So unmute yourself and speak.
Thank you for reminding me to mute myself. I appreciate that. I'm just enjoying listening to what you guys have to say, because it's nice when I bring something up that's, you know, that's thought provoking to me, and I get the same response from you guys. I do appreciate that. And then, I mean, so what I had brought up while you guys were talking, because you were talking about where the location was. We don't know that, but I wanted to bring up what I do have for receipts before the gag order. And I got these from an article in Meow. I have everything up here so that you guys can know exactly where I got it. Let me go to the first page. So it was this article where I found it. So he is saying that he doesn't know if it's the stepbrother or the brother-in-law, but he confirmed the source as to real. I am not saying I confirmed it. I'm saying Ted Bauer from Meow, who's a pretty regular blogger on this site. And he's a paid blogger. Like, you have to get through a paywall to read his stuff. He's the one who brought up these receipts, and he brought another place they were verified. I want to say it was People Magazine, but it also could have been the Mirror. Anyway, so this is what they say. The first one here says Ethan's sister-in-law. Yes, and again, not verified, just verified through this guy, and this is only speculation. Ethan's sister-in-law allegedly says, verified in this article, yes, I hope it will come out what Dee heard. Dee supposedly called all the girls in the house after crying and screaming stop, and no one answered. And she still didn't call the police. She needs to explain herself and her actions that night. They're just asking for an explanation, you know. And then the family, and then it says down here, Ethan's sister-in-law went on to say, 911 caller was the friend who went in because Dee called him to come over because she was scared from what she had heard in the night. He went to X and E's room first and then called 911. Why D or B didn't call the police once is the question. And then the last statement she made pertaining to this was X and E were in her room. So, I mean, it doesn't mean that Ethan didn't start out in the hallway, but from what she's saying, they were in their room. And then if you remember back to the Chapin's interview, which was on the 17th, I think it was the 17th, just a few days after the crime, and they said they were in her room. They said the same thing. So, I mean, it's like we don't have the PCA necessarily stating that, but it sounds like at least in the morning they ended up there. Now, whether, and again, trigger warning, whether Ethan made his way into the room afterwards, and I always thought maybe he shut the door and leaned up against it, or God forbid, somebody put him into the room. I don't know, but this is what the families had for information. And don't forget, Hunter and Maisie were there that morning. So it sounds like a pretty solid source to me. I don't know what does the chat think here? What do you guys think?
Well, and that's one thing I do want to real quick with King Scarlet News. No, we're not here blaming anybody. There's obviously been many of discussions back and forth in regards to the roommates with Dylan and Bethany. I mean, I'm so far past trying to figure out everything that happened. I think the only way we're ever going to know what happened is when they sit their butt up on the jury, before the jury, and they speak, and they're going to tell their story. And at that point, we're going to be able to learn more about how they were feeling, how they reacted, why they reacted. I'm not going to question it. I'm not going to put it out there. I can personally say that an 8-hour time gap comes across as odd to me, but I wasn't there. I don't know. So,
I have to say, we're not saying it. We're reading right. The victim's family member's statement. That's not us doing anything but providing information to our viewers. And
right. When it comes to Dylan and Bethany, I think law enforcement did them a major injustice by putting out there the information about Dylan and, trying to tie these people, the 8-hour gap. That could have been withheld. I'm telling you right now, that information did not have to get released. They did not have to release Dylan's statement in that PCA that she saw somebody with bushy eye. That's not going to get you an arrest warrant anyway. She didn't actually make an identification of anybody. They should have omitted that. That should have never came out. They threw her under the bus. I'm going to tell you right now, law enforcement threw Dylan under the bus, and I think they did it because Bethany's going to be their actual witness. Dylan's going to obviously have to take the stand of what she heard or what she saw walk past her, but I think Bethany's the actual witness that's going to have something to say, and I think they protected that to the point that people are even questioning whether she was there or not. It's obvious she was there. We don't know in what capacity or what she's going to have to say, but I don't want people to feel as though we're here on panel just continuously to attack Dylan and Bethany, because by no means that's not what we're doing.
I've never done that on this channel.
Yeah, and frankly, I've questioned the 8-hour gap, but at the end of the day, when I sit down and I really think about it, Dylan and Bethany owe me no explanation whatsoever. They don't need, they don't have to tell me anything. They're going to have to step before the court and tell their story in a trial that they're trying to convict Brian Kohberger. So they're going to be confronted by Kohberger's counsel, nothing to do with me. So I don't have to know anything. But one day we're going to learn what they have to say. And then is it going to make more sense at that time? We'll see. We'll see. I hope it does. But we'll see.
No, I had a question for you, brother. They found that shoe print outside of Dylan's bedroom, but it was so barely visible. The only way they saw it was with the amino black and something else. Why was it so barely visible, though? Yeah, it makes me think maybe there was a little cleaning going on or something. I don't know.
Could there be cleaning? I don't think we're going to know. Or that would have to be presented at trial. Could there have been booties on the feet, and they're trying to claim there was some sort of chemical that was able to ensure that there was no blood transfer from a shoe to the floor? Maybe. To really add thought to what you're asking, Robert, is you got to take a step back and you got to look at the PCA and really ask yourself, why the hell did you even put that in there?
Yeah.
What was the point of that? If you have a latent footprint that's barely visible near Dylan Mortensen's door, and you want to give absolutely no explanation to why you just put that in the document, how does that help you get an arrest warrant? Like, you have to realize this PCA is a theory-based document written by the investigative team to get the arrest of a suspect based off of their thoughts and their feelings of the transpiring of evidence that would link that person to the crime. So you legitimately got to take this PCA into parts and make sense of them, and you have to wonder, what in the hell does it matter that you found a latent footprint, one, by a door with no explanation to why you even put that in the PCA? How does that add up to anything to help your cause for an arrest? What did that help?
It didn't. It basically threw Dylan under the bus.
So literally you have to ask yourself when you're looking at the totality, because everybody has told us what? When it comes to circumstantial evidence, you have to look at the totality of the combination of all the evidence put together to make it make sense as to why this would be your suspect. Okay, that's fine. Let's use that same thought process now, and we're going to bring this PCA document over, and we're going to look at it in the same thought process. We need this PCA to line up to a reasoning as to why we should arrest this person for the crime. Why would you state that the surviving roommate of the house sees a person leaving the home but can make no actual physical determination of the look of the person? We didn't say he was white. We didn't say he was black. We didn't say any type of nationality. We didn't say we saw hair other than bushy eyebrows. Okay, so literally the description doesn't help us, because a 5'10" bushy eyebrowed person could be a million people.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that didn't narrow that down to me at all.
No.
But we threw that in there for no reason. But then we also throw in a latent footprint in front of a door. And what does that add up to? What does that add any value to thinking you should arrest this person? It didn't say what size it was. It didn't say that it fit the style shoe they were looking for in their arrest warrants.
No, all they said it was a Vans shoe, and the only thing I could see BK wearing a Vans shoe was when he was arrested, because they give out Vans shoes there in Pennsylvania and probably across the country. And the shoes they were bringing out of his apartment were not Vans; they were New Balances.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. If we're getting into, we got to look at one set of circumstantial evidence to put the totality together to say, okay, I understand why this person was arrested and could be guilty. We've got to use that same brain strength and common sense to be able to look at something and say, well, why was that even put in this document? What did that bring to this document? And that's what I've been screaming this entire time. This PCA for an arrest warrant is one of the worst written documents you could ever imagine when it comes to a theory based, because every breadcrumb of this could actually fall apart for them and explode in their face. Every piece of this PCA could be thrown away just based off of, well, that narrative no longer fits this crime. If we don't have a stalker, what the hell does it matter? There were 12 pings around the house.
Yeah.
You just took away the whole point of why you're claiming those 12 pings mattered. Okay, now we're just saying, well, no. I mean, we just see it in the newest document. We're not stating that the PCA is even saying he was in the area of the home. We're just saying that his phone connected to a tower that covered the area of the home.
Yes.
All right, well, you just debunked your PCA. You just threw 3/4 of the importance of your PCA right out the window. All you have left now, all you have left at this very point is your sheath. And just wait for the suppression hearings to come. If you think that sheath is 100% going to fly through, well, more
Even I
power
know it's
to you.
not, brother. Even I know that sheath is not going to make it to trial.
Well, even the prosecution said that they don't plan on utilizing it. Well, they're going to have to utilize something. They're going to have to utilize something.
Can
And
I
they're not
ask-
going to be able... Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Finish your thought, AR. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, I mean, at this point now, they've discredited their own PCA. So Bill Thompson right now is sitting in his office going, I'm not an investigator of this case. Bill Thompson does not go out and investigate the evidence. He collects the evidence from the investigators, puts it together, and builds a case to go into the courtroom to tell a story based off the evidence collected so that it will make sense to a jury. Well, now he's sitting there scratching his head in his office going, well, I've got this, I think I can use this. And look, there's probably more behind closed doors we don't know. I'm the first one to admit that.
Yeah.
But what's going to survive the suppression hearings? That's what's going to be critical in this case. We don't have cell phone material even back yet. That may not even come back. We don't know. So that's going to be fought. The car videos are going to be fought. And of course, the sheath's going to be fought. And if they can get that sheath out, DNA's gone. You're going to have no DNA in this case because if this PCA falls apart enough, you no longer have an arrest affidavit. You no longer have an actual arrest of Brian Koberger, and you know what that means? You no longer have his buccal swab. You don't have his DNA match anymore. What do you got? Where are you going to go with this now? What story are you going to tell at this point? And that's why I keep warning people, you got to open your eyes. You have to open your eyes to the way that the system has conducted itself in this case. I'm not saying the man's innocent. I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm not saying anything. I'm only rebutting people that come at me and say, I need to look at the totality of the circumstantial evidence to confirm that this man most likely committed this crime. Well, I'm sorry. What happens when you have no evidence? Now what am I supposed to look at to think this guy committed the crime? And it's law enforcement's fault within the investigation. And it's the backdoor tactics that were used once evidence was collected. Now you got to prove it was handled properly, it was transferred properly, it was tested properly, it was good luck. In this case, I don't see it. I don't see it.
King Scarlet News, the DNA will not make it to trial.
No.
Yeah, she said in the comment, well, we still have the DNA. The DNA, King Scarlet News, will not make it to trial. No, it won't.
But here's the thing. I just want to stop for a second. Scarlett, we like diversity of opinions. We don't want to be in an echo chamber. So we're not shooting your comments down.
No.
Please keep them coming.
No.
You know, we appreciate your thoughts. Like right now we're covering one angle of the story. We might in a second cover another angle that really is
I'll fire this back. Because if there is other DNA we don't know about.
Yeah.
If they did collect after that PCA, let's say they went back in and they did find other DNA and it has not been released to us. If they've got sweat, they got blood, they got saliva, they got anything, that nails them. I'm going to tell you right now, that nails it. So just because that sheath may struggle doesn't mean they don't have something else we don't know about. Because I will say, Bill Thompson doesn't look worried. I feel like he should be. And I feel like, you know, in some of his wording that he's hidden things. But he's not up there just like, oh, this case is gone out the window. We got to throw it out and try to re-get him later. And, you know, he's not coming out making statements to the family like, hey, we're going to try to figure that. I mean, he's just sitting there smugly and quietly. And, you know, we're going to see. Because I'm telling you right now, if they do have another DNA sample from anywhere in that crime scene that comes back to Brian Kohberger, he's done. Done. That's it. It's over.
Yeah. Or in the house, if they found anything when they were tracing the car or the house, which we wouldn't have known about. The only thing people say is, well, why did they ask for more search warrants after the initial search warrants? But they could have just been looking for more connections. So yeah, there could be another example of DNA. And I wanted to address this because Rebecca Bruce was just commenting back to Heather saying, remember the cast didn't come in the Murdaugh trial until the trial started, but that was and I'm not contradicting you. I'm just saying my understanding is that was a totally different case. He had like almost $100,000 car. They were not relying on cast for that. They were relying on the metadata because it wasn't the cell phone they were worried about in that case. They were strictly going off the car's nav system. That car told you the second you opened the door, when you rolled down the window, where you put your belt on. I mean, it gave a snapshot of every movement. I would go as far as to say that car probably had video surveillance in it. Because remember, all modern cars that have their black box will record your audio and video 30 seconds before and after an impact. So I think he was driving a Lincoln. I don't remember what he was driving, but he had a really expensive car and they were relying on the car's black box and navigation system. So I don't know if the cast was even a prominent, but it might not have been something they were, I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there, but I'm not an expert on that trial or anything. And I wanted to bring something else up because you guys were talking about the vans and I didn't get to weigh in on this. And I want to bring this up to you guys. So you guys sit there and talk about the van footprint, right? We know it's a van footprint. There was latent bloody van footprint that was found outside Diem's house. So let me ask you this. If they found a bloody van footprint outside of her house, what about the boot print? Oh, shoot, that's not the one. Hold on, I brought the wrong thing up. Let me pull it up here. What about the boot print they collected as, where did it go? Oh, damn it. I brought the wrong thing up. Well, I have evidence marker number 3, which is the boot print, and I will pull it up in a second. So if there's a van footprint in front of Dylan's room and a boot footprint on the high side of the house, which was evidence number 3, like literally the third piece of evidence they collected, isn't that 2 people?
Yeah.
Just saying. 1, 2.
You would think so, but which one are they utilizing as the suspects?
Let me see. You know who made me a great boot footprint that I should go into my email and find is Jeff actually laid everything out for me and made me this amazing thumbnail. And I don't know why I'm doing this, but I at least have one at my fingertips I can show you guys. Shoot, I would be really crushed if I didn't download this. Well, anyway, I have the photo. We don't need to show it now for theatrics, but there is evidence marker number 3 is a boot on the high side of the house. Not saying the boot's going to be used as evidence. I know the obvious, maybe it was ruled out, but it was the third piece of evidence they collected. And
it might not be ruled out. I mean, it might not be ruled out. That might be a very solid piece of evidence.
It's interesting.
I would think boot would fit the crime more than a van. That's my opinion. I
would do that too. I mean, it wouldn't be.
I mean, if I was committing this crime, I'm not showing up in my loafers and, you know, a pair of Docker shorts and a polo. I mean, I'm showing up in a outfit that's going to allow me to commit a quadruple, whether I feel like I'm going to have to commit a quadruple, even if I'm only there for one person. I still know there's more than one person that lives there. I'm going to come more prepared than just a pair of Vans. I mean, that doesn't make sense. That
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. I'm going to show up with the biggest, you know, hunting knife, military grade knife, to wear my Vans to a crime. No, no, no. I don't think so. Yeah, no. Let me speed out of here in my Dockers and my Vans. Jesus.
I mean, like, what's interesting too is he studied, you know, he in his studies of forensic psychology, he did a lot of crime scene investigation. And what I learned from Steve, is it Steve? Oh my gosh, I can't remember his name. Steve, the ex-detective that works with DTS, he has True Crime Web here on YouTube. So they did an experiment. I actually think it was Daniel asked him to do the experiment, but it was seeing how long the booty could last as a barrier under your shoe. So essentially, that booty becomes obsolete after the booty has been soaked to a certain point, and certainly at the point where you could see the footprint coming through, the barrier would no longer be there. So not only does it not protect the DNA from the crime scene from getting on your shoe, but it also doesn't protect the DNA on your shoe from getting on the crime scene, although we would assume somebody coming to a crime scene would clean their shoes. Anyway, I'm just saying that about the booty because it could, if they did decide to wear a certain type of footwear, they could have been thinking that it would never leave a mark because of that booty. And they wouldn't have known unless they had like this extensive test that I saw. I'm probably talking too much, you guys.
No, I just, you know, for somebody that's been involved in the criminal life as long as I have, I still really have an issue with people that literally think this guy got dressed up and prepared in an astronaut like uniform wearing booties. And I mean, depending on the reason why this crime was committed, you know, many people have felt there's numerous different avenues to why a person would want to commit this crime. And if it was legitimately just stalking one person and feeling like they could get in and out of this home, going for their target of one person, they're not going to go through the whole theatrical movie like, you know, scenario of, you know,
Jason or Michael Myers.
yeah, I mean, come on, man. I mean, we got to be serious about this. Everybody's saying like he planned this for a year in advance and this and that. And if he did, God, then he's got me stumped because I've been around these types of people that do these things. And the sickest of minds don't sit there and, you know, just pre-plan everything where they're shopping on Amazon to find their knife and their booties and, oh God, I got to run to Walmart the day before and get my, you know, Michael Myers overalls. And I mean, come on. We got to legitimately look at this with a sense of if this was this type of person that committed this crime, like a Brian Kober, he most likely would have been a person that snapped mentally and threw everything together within days, not weeks, not months, not years. This would have been a matter of a very short period of time, and he snapped and he took it out on somebody. Now you just got to figure out why these somebodies, why this house, what was it that led him to this point? And you know, if somebody can come out with a good reasoning as to that, it's going to prove the case, and that's how you're going to find who actually did this. And I watch everybody's thoughts and their theories and their opinions, and some are really enticing, and you're like, oh wow, yeah, maybe that kind of makes sense. And others you just kind of right away go, well, that makes no sense. You know, come on. Quit talking like that. That doesn't even add up. That's like a 2-year-old's tale. But I want to listen to everybody because I think that's what it's going to take to figure out why, and then the mentality, and then how, and then where did the evidence actually disappear to, like the murder weapon, the clothes. But come on. I mean, do we really think that Brian Koberger was sitting on Amazon 6 months before this crime saying, well, I think I'm going to need this K-bar knife in 7 months when I move to Idaho and I start college, and then I meet these girls and I'm going to come unglued and they're going to ditch me on social media, so I better be prepared. And then at the last minute, I'll go to Walmart and get me some Dickies. And come on. That's not the way it works. I mean, that's not how it happens.
No, it's not. I mean, even Bill Thompson and the judges both come out and said he wasn't stalking the victims.
Yeah.
In one of the court hearings, that he wasn't stalking them. So technically, if he's not stalking them, there's no motive.
Well, and I kind of have a question too. If this was where his mind was transpiring to go, to get into the mindset to commit a crime like this, and then we got to take this idea that people have put out there. This is kind of what I say, like circumstantial evidence, that you got to put all these pieces together to make it make sense. But so he meets this girl at the university, becomes friends with her. Evidently, he supposedly breaks into her apartment, moves everything around to make her nervous. She invites him over to help him put in a security system. Why wouldn't that be his target? Like, why is that girl all of a sudden not his target, but instead he chooses a house with 6 people to take 4 lives in a type of situation he just might not be able to get away from?
Yeah.
When he could have just very easily had a single individual that he could have controlled the entire narrative in the situation, and it would have gone exactly how he wanted it to go. And then people come back and they say, well, they could have tied him to her and blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't know. I don't really agree, because I think you snap at those closest to you.
Yeah.
And your crime is committed in a comfortable sense, not a, well, let's risk all our doggy biscuits in one little thing and go out into a house with 6 people and just see if we get lucky. I don't know.
I mean, I agree with you, brother. It would have made more logical sense going after that one person, since instead of going after 6.
Well, and I'm also thinking too, like, right, he's already broken into her home. He knows how to get in and out of her house. And now he's actually the one in control of her security system. He could have put in cameras that went back to his place. He could have had a whole field day of fun with this situation. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
he had full control of that situation. But instead, that's not where now he's going after girls that they can't even find a connection between him and them. Like,
No.
They can't find a connection. But that makes more sense than somebody. He could have picked any girl at Washington State University, any girl within his classroom, any girl with any classes around his class that he saw on campus, anybody that lived within the apartment complex, anybody that lived in Pennsylvania.
Hey,
but he chose.
Yeah, don't forget
chose
about
this
that one
house.
girl that he went out on a date with that said that he made her feel uncomfortable. You don't forget
Right,
about her.
The great birthing hips girl.
Yeah.
Or the females that evidently he got mouthy with at the bar back in Pennsylvania. So if it is that he's actually building up to something like this, why get so far outside of the comfortability realm for your very first crime? I don't see that with Brian Kober. Like, I don't feel that way. This isn't a spur of the moment off the side of the highway. He stopped at a motel and got a girl in the room next door and then took off. This is literally, they're saying that he was around this house numerous times, but they can't connect him to anybody in the house. And I would think that would be the very first thing that would have to stand out for an arrest. Make that connection. Like, show everybody that connection. Prove to the judge, hey, look, we got the right guy because of this and this, and this is how we tie him together. Not a latent footprint in front of the bedroom door of one of your surviving witnesses. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder because I've watched a few videos over the last couple of days, and they talk about the same thing. Could the police have gone outside the bounds of the law, or even skirted the law, getting that DNA from his parents' house? And because I keep thinking the same thing. Well, I mean, even Vargas, Gabrielle Vargas, said that when you test the DNA, even if the person is not has been opted out of the police database, you still have access to their DNA. Even though they've been opted out by the police, you still have access to their DNA. You can still get in the files of their DNA.
I'm very leery of trying to go down a law enforcement setup type scenario. I don't want to go that route. Like, even though No, I know you're not as well. I'm definitely one that wants to hold the system accountable and make sure they go step by step. I personally, I think my biggest question is this legitimately a DNA sample that's even worthy of testing? Is it actually a transfer DNA that we've seen time and time again be inadmissible in hearings and trials because of the fact we've seen it happen before where incorrect DNA ends up at the wrong place? If by some means that's not the case and this is a real and a legitimate find of DNA on the sheet, and it properly was tested and maneuvered and everything comes back as 100% legitimate, I'll have to bite my words and say, well, that's pretty substantial. I gotta give it to them. They got DNA at the crime scene. That's pretty substantial. But until you give me what just because I've been around it too much, I've been sitting in jail with people that had touched DNA, and then all of a sudden when he got to trial, and I'm sure you've been around it too, Robert, people that got it tossed out at the trials and it just wasn't usable, and next thing you know, you have no DNA sample. And at that point, your case is in shambles. And right now, when I'm looking at the Brian Kohberger, step by step that we're maneuvering towards right now, it looks like there's going to be some struggles to be able to, I guess, substantiate the evidence and legitimize it, and we'll see how that plays out. And if it does come back and it's really a legitimate DNA sample and it's real and true, I'll be the first one that will step up and say, hey, I criticized the handling and the methods used, and I didn't think they were right, but damn, it came out to be right. I was wrong. But we'll have to get to that point, because right now I don't know if that's going to be the case, so we'll see.
Yeah, because even Ann Taylor has made the statement, this is a high profile case, and it's possibly a once in a generation case. Possibly, we don't know yet, but it is a high profile case. And when this trial is over with, and when everything is done with the court, is there going to be another high profile case that we move on to?
Well, you got to wonder. Legitimately think about this too. And Swamp, I would like to bring you back in, get your voice back included into your own life here. I don't want to cut you all the way out. But here's kind of a great perspective to think about. On the East Coast right now, you literally have a serial killer that they're finding more and more bodies that are tied to him, and you hear far less about that case than this case, right? And that guy's going to be found guiltier and guilty because they're finding every piece of evidence that's legitimate against that guy, even maybe tying his own daughter to the case. And nobody's talking about that case because they're focused on the Idaho 4. So I would say this is one of the most substantial cases you're going to see for years to come.
So yeah, and I totally agree. It is shocking when you figure out, like, when we think about which cases make the headlines and which cases don't. And you know, I assume you're talking about Rex Huberman, and you think to yourself, is the reason why everybody in the community isn't giving it our full set of eyes because these women were it's just saying, like, is that why you know it doesn't get as much coverage? It's because I don't know, it could be the you know, these particular victims who are, you know, they just were living a wonderful life, and we saw, you know, vibrant, beautiful people, and you know, they had no business being in a situation like this. And it's shocking to all of us, because when we do think about a victim of a crime like this, we think of someone isolated or vulnerable or in a compromised situation. And so it is shocking. And the reason I brought up DP Tade's comment is because up here he made two that I thought I haven't heard before. So I had to star them, and they were quite a while ago. So I just want to bring up both of them because they're really good. They're really good statements. And I'd like to hear anybody who has knowledge on this just kind of like reply in the chat. But he said, the officer also writes a more detailed description of the arrest in the officer's report. This is a narrative that prosecutors will review. And I'm sorry, he didn't say officer report, offense report is what I meant to say. And then it says, the offense report typically includes much more of the information than the PC affidavit. Is that something that's been redacted?
Well, you won't see it because of the gag order. So you're not going to be able to see all the various police reports that have been written in regards to this case. You're also not going to see the different documents that state, you know, different statements that were made by various people. So there is a lot that's still behind closed doors that nobody knows or has seen. So obviously that would be the case. But I mean, also just quickly to touch upon what you said in regards to this case and the vulnerability of the victims and the things of that nature. If you want my opinion of why this case stands out so much, is because the direct line right down the middle between the people that think he's guilty and those that don't think he's guilty, and the narratives that are being pushed is there's so many narratives that are keeping people intertwined into this case that they're following which one that they best feel suits their thought process to this case. And it's kind of, when you take a step back and you look at them all, you can shake your head and go, man, there's just so many thoughts on this case that are coming from so many different directions. And in my opinion, and I hate to say this, Swamp, I think that literally some of the love for the victims is being left out of the thoughts of those narratives. And now it's getting to the point that some of the narratives are getting so crazy and out there that we've forgotten what the actual basics of this case is all about and what's most important. And now we're moving into taking a stance that we all want to put our feet on the ground and say, my narrative makes more sense than yours. And you know, that kind of falls into content creators. It can also fall into the fight between family members and content creators. There's so much out there that could even, you could put mainstream media against YouTubers, because it comes down to the bottom dollar of, do the YouTubers get paid more in what they say about the case, or is mainstream media making more money? I mean, I hate to put it that way, but that's kind of where I feel is now it's becoming legitimately about the money. Who can collect money from certain angles and how and why, and that's the way it's going to be pushed. So, and everybody's on mute but me. Thanks for leaving me hanging.
I'm not on mute. I was just listening to you, brother.
Just let Albert ramble on for the next 45 minutes, making an ass of himself, and it'll just be great. But
But I don't think the Mad Greek will tie into it though. You know that one question from Texas Ranger. I don't think the Mad Greek will tie into it.
Are we talking about the restaurant?
Yes.
I no, this is far deeper than meeting somebody at their job. I don't think Brian Koberger would have enough time or effort to go hang out at the pizza place, get upset with Maddie and Xana at the pizza place, and then determine that they were the ones that he wants to attack. If this is a Brian Koberger or anybody crime, it's deeper than that. There's something substantial that created this. Does that mean that I agree with other creators' theories of this or that that's out there? No, but something created a reason for this crime, and that's what we hope to all find out at trial. That's what we hope is portrayed at trial that could make more sense to us, is that whole reasoning behind it.
Oh yeah. You know,
If we don't get that, then we'll never agree on it. So
yeah, and like when I first came to YouTube, I used to watch a lot of content creators. Now I only watch a very few, and two of them I'm on panel with.
Well, I'm definitely appreciative of, I definitely enjoy your guys' work as well. I personally have kind of distanced myself for the time being from watching a lot of content because I feel as though, I need to rejuvenate my thoughts and be a little, maybe a little more open-minded and look at a few different things, because if I don't grow and mature in the way that I'm looking or thinking about things, then I could find myself in some trouble,
Yeah, see, that's why. But the last, like the video I put out today was about the arrests of the five individuals in the Matthew Perry death. So I've been kind of trying to stray away just a little bit from the Idaho 4, because like you and Pete said in one of your lives, AR, that there's nothing new coming out about the case, and we're not going to know nothing new until the trial next year. So all the rabbit holes in the Idaho 4 cases slowly drying up. So, and I took that as okay. Well, maybe I need to expand out to more cases. And I was talking to Christy in Discord today, and I asked her if she heard about the ketamine queen, and she said, yeah. She said, I just heard that they arrested somebody in Matthew Perry's death. So I said, well, should I do a premiere about it? She goes, I would. She goes, it's hot and it's a current event right now. So I recorded a premiere and I put it out.
Well, and I think that's what's going to help creators, and I think Swamp does a good job of it. I believe that, you do a good job of it. I want to strive to do a better job of it. We want to be here for the long haul, and we want to be a legitimate source of information to where we can give information on a wide range of cases and thoughts and what we see in things, and then we could deep dive into the investigations. We could share that with people. If we intertwine ourselves with just one case, one opinion, one thought process, we've devalued ourselves and our voice and our path into the future. We've just become what is like a one pony race or whatever it is, and
one trick pony.
Yeah, we're a one-trick pony, and unfortunately, there's some content creators out there that this is going to be their do or die. When this is over, where are they going to go? Where are they going to go
Yeah.
with it? And I just want to be better than that. I just want to be more than that. And I want to be a part of the community for the long haul. And that's why I strive out a little bit. So I'm gonna actually have to say goodnight. My wife finally made it home from a very long day at work, and we're gonna kind of get some things wrapped up for the night. But I hope to talk to both of you guys tomorrow, and everybody in the chat here very soon. But I'm gonna have to shake hands and part ways for the night.
All right, love you, brother. I'll text you in the morning.
Sounds good. And Kiki must be on mute again.
Well, I am off now, and I just appreciate you coming up on panel. I know you weren't planning on it tonight, so I appreciate you giving so much of your time to our audience. And I know our audience loved having you here. If you have a chance to AR and you didn't see all the comments I displayed while you were talking, you'll have to go back and look at them, all the well wishes people gave you. And
well, I definitely appreciate that. And I like I said, I adore both of you guys. We're definitely a team. I'm always excited to work with you guys. When I'm able to get up here, I love doing it. I love hearing both of your guys' thoughts and, mingling with you guys for the crowd. Hopefully we get to do it again very soon. And I'll definitely stay in touch with you guys to see if we can get it planned.
Sounds great.
Twizzlestick says, tell Jen and the Pitties we say hi.
I definitely will. After she's done yelling at me for such a late night, I will definitely let her know how much everybody says hello to her as well.
All right, have a good night, brother.
All right. You guys have a great night. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being here.
Yep. Bye.
Bye. I wanted to talk about this comment right here. If you don't I know we're not going to go too much longer. I'm going to call it a night, but I wanted to say something about this comment. So it says, touch DNA analysis is permitted on weapons in a murder in an attempt to murder case, according to ISP Lab. And I think what you're referring to is obtaining a you can test the DNA without a warrant. I don't know. I don't know what that reference is.
Hey, Dar Square. She goes,
and I
Colt.
stopped there.
What? Colt.
What?
Dar Square says, Colt.
Hold on.
Talking to me.
I'm really far back in the comments.
Twizzlestick says, AR, tell her it was my fault.
Hey, this is Russ. What's up? I just wanted to say hi. And Kiki, you look so gorgeous. I think you're doing a great job. That was really sweet. Thank